Well, I think hope for the future for me personally is that there will at some point be resolution to many of these global tensions that we have. I mean, I really, even though it's been very difficult to come to terms with the fact that there is still a great amount of conflict, we have to come to believe that conflict can be, can be surmounted. And I think about this piece that John Estacio wrote for us, this commissioned work, which was called "The Houses Stand Not Far Apart." Is a very strong image in that piece of two communities living on opposite sides of a river, very similar in many of their ways of doing things. They speak the same, they dance the same, they do business the same, but they don't get along. And he wrote that actually, that piece is based on a John Morel libretto, when John was his librettist for the operas that he wrote as well, Philomela and Frobisher. And John Morel wrote this text as well, and it was based on some of the experiences of conflicts in Bosnia-Herzegovina and also in Iraq and Afghanistan. Just the tensions between various groups of people, which are so deep-seated, going back for millennia, and the image of these two civilizations happening on either side of a river, and they don't get along, and then eventually there's a war that breaks out, and the plea for peace that comes in after that is still very powerful. And to me, that's a very strong image of what is hope for me, is that can still happen. I don't know whether it'll happen in my lifetime, but it is something that I still continue to hope. And then personally, as far as my own, I just hope for good health. I've had some battles with health, with cancer as well, but I feel very good right now, and touch wood, that'll continue to be the case. I love certain aspects of life a lot. Food and drink are very important to me. But, at the same time, I'm also aware of, that my own career will be, coming to slowly to an end, and that I'll be looking at a new direction in my life as a retired person eventually. So I'm starting to think about that. Not too soon yet, hopefully. But I do have lots of optimism and hope for the future, and especially with our young people these days. I think the generation that we are seeing now is a very optimistic generation, I think. I've seen that in the students that I work with. I've heard about it from high school teachers, the people that they work with, most of whom are in the arts in some way. I don't have a lot of friends who are working in sciences and that kind of area, but certainly in the arts, there is a real optimism, I think, present amongst young people today. So one hopes that will lead to better life for everybody. Young people today, I think they need to have the assurance that there is a bright future for them, provided that they can make the commitment to their own personal development and growth. And very important for students also to value relationships and the strength that relationships can build. Relationships that are based on mutual trust, on respect for other people's viewpoints, other people's way of doing things, and essentially trying to come to terms with how one can do that within a mutual respect and love for each other, And so I think that is probably, no matter what field people go into, what I often notice is, and I do a lot of choir workshops with choirs, and what I notice most often there is this model that I think is basically germane to any thriving community organization, but choirs in particular have developed this kind of idea of the individual contribution being somewhat focused and guided by the need for the communal best of everybody. In other words, the individual choir singer may have a very fine voice, beautiful intonation, excellent vocal control, breath control, beautiful sound. But if they're not listening to the other singers around them and not really consciously trying to work in harmony, literally and figuratively, with those around them, the end product can be quite diffuse, and it doesn't have the same impact at all than with a group that really has the ability to listen laterally and be aware of the group's strength. I used to have a voice teacher who was also a conductor who talked about this a lot, that he would say, if everybody were singing the same vowel together at the same time with the same strength, you would hear that sound increase in volume and amplitude by up to 30 or 40% beyond what every individual could do on their own. In other words, it's that communal effort that really makes something bigger than the individual parts. And I think that's a great image for young people today to think about how they would approach corporate projects and working together. That's where I think choir singing is so valuable as a skill building tool, as well as community awareness building tool for young people. And I think of some of the groups that I know of here in the Edmonton region, the Kokopelli Ensemble organization with Scott Leadhead and his group of conductors, the Edmonton Youth Choir. These are incredible organizations for building citizenship and awareness of the importance of the group, and also at the same time fostering self-esteem in the individuals within the group. And so from my point of view, that's the kind of thing I'd like to see young people aspire to.